Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Yesterday I was reading an article about Aaron Rodgers, the former quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, who now plays for the New York Jets. And the article was about how he saw a gigantic craft back in 2005, along with some witnesses. Of course, we've heard from celebrities over the decades, many different celebrities, Muhammad Ali, John Lennon, so many different people over the years. That's Kurt Russell. Kurt Russell was one of the people that saw the 1997 Phoenix Lights object. A lot of celebrities over the years have stepped forward and said they have seen things that are unearthly. There's really not any other term for it. But anyway, after reading that article, a lot of other ideas came into my mind. Like I reread it again this morning, and there's a lot of questions that I have. I see this, and this guy's not lying. There was witnesses that were with him. I mean, it really happened. It's just another incident of some craft that's most certainly not something that human beings made that's here. I mean, it's more proof to add on to the mountain of proof that we already have. So, of course, after you read something like this, you start thinking about this whole subject and what does it all mean? But anyway, before we get into that, I want to read some of this article. There were multiple articles. This is one that's in. I'm reading this one off of Today.com. I'll leave the link so you can check it out for yourself. And the headline reads: Aaron Rodgers recaps alleged UFO sighting. We just stood there in disbelief. That was a quote that he made for this story. And it says here, Aaron Rodgers, it says he and two others witnessed a UFO nearly 20 years ago. The New York Jets quarterback recounted what happened in an episode of HBO's Hard Knocks, saying he was at his college teammate Steve Levy's house in 2005 when they saw a UFO. Rodgers remembers what happened moments before he saw a large object in the sky. I was getting down to bed, Rodgers said. I heard this alarm in the distance going off. It just didn't seem like normal, and I heard some rustling downstairs, so I got up, walked downstairs. It's a beautiful night, and Steve and his brother and I walked outside, and up in the clouds we heard this sound, and we saw this tremendously large object moving through the sky. It was like a scene out of Independence Day when the ships are coming into the atmosphere and they're creating this kind of explosion-type fire in the sky, he said. We just saw this incredibly large object and froze, as anybody would. Rodgers says that what they saw eventually went away, but the three of them stayed in place and didn't utter a word. He said 30 seconds later they heard what sounded like fighter jets. And again, we just stood there in disbelief for another few minutes, he says. Nobody said a word, and we all kind of looked at each other like, did we just see what we think we just saw? What was that? He says they tried to go to sleep maybe 20 minutes later. You're still not really sleeping, he says. You just experienced this bizarre experience. We looked in the papers and online the next few days, and there was nothing about it. And then Today.com said that they spoke to Levy, and Levy corroborated everything that Aaron Rodgers said. According to Levy, every single thing that Aaron said about the encounter was 100% authentic, except for one thing. Rodgers said it happened at Levy's home in New Jersey when the home was in fact in New York. Spottings of UFOs reported by military planes from 2004 to 2021 were at 144 cases, according to a 2021 report released by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. Rodgers did not indicate whether what he saw was one of the 144 reported cases, and the report does not disclose locations. He says he researched UFOs on his own and thinks they are often around nuclear energy, volcanoes, and power plants. The siren or alarm had been from a nuclear power plant, which was about 9 miles away, Rodgers says. He also says he can't confirm for sure what it was, but it was definitely flying. So that's an amazing story. Just another incredible sighting by somebody with witnesses, and it's now in the public domain, which I think is nice. And you wonder, what did he see that night? Obviously, it was not something that could have been man-made. And then there's some jets that show up, but what are the jets doing? Are they chasing it away? Are they trying to figure out what it is? Are they worried about an invasion? I don't know if we would have a chance against something that is that advanced. I mean, who knows what's going on with these things and what, we don't get answers from the people we have put in charge, so we just go walk through life blind. But anyway, I came up with some different. I had some questions that come to mind after all of this, and a lot of it might seem to you like it doesn't relate to it, but in a way, it does. All of it's related, as far as I'm concerned. All of this is the whole UFO phenomenon. It's very vast. It's great. It's incredibly large. There's a lot of different facets to this, and a lot of things we just don't understand. I'm not sure if we ever will understand. But one of the first questions I have to ask myself is, about you is with regard to UFO crashes. Now, I've talked recently. A lot of people, debunkers, for instance, will tell you that it's stupid to think that all these beings would fly all these tens of thousands of light years to here and then crash somehow. Well, my answer to that is that all technology fails at some point. All the technology that the human race has created so far fails sometimes, and just the way things are. But I have something else in mind here. I think there's a possibility that perhaps maybe some UFO crashes, they could be deliberate. And I've talked about this a while back. You would think, like, if you're an extraterrestrial race that's interested in this planet for whatever reason, right, and you want to understand the people who are controlling the planet, the human race, you're going to want to find out how they tick from the inside. You might crash something. You might crash a saucer somewhere, say in Roswell, for instance, on purpose. And the people who are in control, the people at the top, right, are going to be the people who are going to respond to this, and they are going to take control of the situation. And then who knows what could be in the dead alien bodies that they find, or the contraption itself. Well, could be some technology that we would never even know is there, and that technology is used against us somehow to figure out, okay, these are the people that are in charge. This is where we need to infiltrate. That's just something that comes to mind, because again, we're still in a position where we have to speculate on this. I wonder why are we still asking these questions for all these decades, and our officials still are pretending that nothing's going on. A lot of them. And then the second thing that kind of came to mind was, I could say, extraterrestrials have infiltrated governments and are able to control the information related to their existence. I think that is something that's possible. Because again, you have all these sightings all over the years. People have encountered extraterrestrials up close and personal many times. I know that they're real. A lot of us out there have had first-hand experience with these things, so we know. And then there's enough research out there that anybody with half a brain should be able to understand that, oh yeah, we're not alone here. There's something here, and our officials are just most certainly lying about this when approached. So you have to ask yourself, have they infiltrated the governments? Perhaps there's some pocket, deep somewhere within the Pentagon, and could be the defense contractors involved. Who knows, for whatever reason, and that little pocket is the end game for any sort of information with regards to this phenomenon. Like, for instance, if something happens, there's some kind of a group that is controlling this behind the scenes, and people within the Pentagon jump at these orders that are given out from this secret group. Meanwhile, our elected officials or president, they can't infiltrate it for whatever purpose. It seems like it's impregnable. I mean, we have people stepping forward, whistleblowers like David Grush, along with the 40 other people that he talked to behind the scenes, that there is a reverse engineering program going on behind the scenes. But what if the aliens themselves are controlling this narrative? What if they are somehow... there's a lot of questions here, right? And we'll get into it as we go on further here, but it makes no sense that our elected officials are unable to pry that information away. And then number three, the third thing that comes to mind here: other extraterrestrial visitors frequent Earth, and perhaps some of them are interested in colonizing it. Yeah, now, after my previous podcast where I was talking about the Johnny Sands case, a lot of things come to mind, with regard to Men in Black. And that's the other thing I want to talk about. Men in Black, in some instances, could be agents of the extraterrestrial intelligence that is already here and is working hard to eventually take complete control of Earth away from humans. So that would mean that is it possible that there's a variety of extraterrestrials that people have encountered over the decades? Are they coming here because they're interested in this planet, because it seems like it would be a good place to move perhaps from a dying planet? But there's already this intelligence here that's taken control of government somehow, possibly, and that's when some things, some events happen. Really good cases like the Johnny Sands case, men in black are dispatched. Basically, they're agents of the alien presence that's in control behind the scenes, and just to try to get some more information, and also to scare the person who had the experience to never talk about it. It's starting to make sense. I mean, in a way, when you really think about it. And then the fifth thought that came to my head was, right now, top elected officials of the United States government are taking measures obviously geared to prying away the truth about crash retrievals and reverse engineering programs from some shadowy presence within the government that the elected officials apparently have no control of at this minute. Why? How could this have happened? Yeah, you have to ask yourself this question. How did we get here? How could it be possible that the elected officials, now we know that this is a bipartisan kind of deal that's going on here right now. I mean, it's Democrats and Republicans are trying to get this information, right? And they can't get it. Why? They're the ones in control, right? I mean, the president apparently is trying to get it too. The executive branch, for some reason, has no access to this. That's what it's looking like, right? So how come they don't have access to this? How come our top elected officials have no access to this? You have to think about this, and it's actually happening right now. We got bills that are designed to try to pry away information from some shadowy, non-named presence within our own government somehow. How is this possible? It is, though. That's what's happening. People aren't, like, the mainstream media is just not picking up on this. I mean, think about what's happening here. We actually have, right now, our top government officials trying to pry information away about reverse engineering programs, crash retrievals, all of it. How did this happen? How did they never have access to it from the first place? Now, some people will say, and even myself in the past, I say, well, there's obviously some deals were made in the long past with perhaps a certain elements within the Pentagon that felt this was necessary to keep this quiet, and also at the meantime, also people from the military-industrial complex, defense contractors, who wanted to try to reverse engineer these things in private, away from the purview of the people. And that could be how this whole thing started, But at this point, I mean, based on some of the things that we know about these extraterrestrials, what if there are agents of the extraterrestrials actually have taken control behind the scenes, and they're in control of this little secret pocket government, secret shadow government that we have no access to? Our top elected officials cannot seem to get information from. How is this possible? How did we get here? Is it possible that we are being actually behind the scenes, being toyed with, being controlled, being set up by these beings that are here, by some extraterrestrial presence? It's possible. It could be. Because when you look at what's happening right now, the fact that our top elected officials are unable, have to take extreme measures, pass legislation in an effort to pry information away, to make it legal. How could it not be legal? How could none of this makes any sense when you really can think about it all. How could it be legal for some group to operate without the purview of people in Congress and the president? How is this possible? It doesn't make any sense. You would think that they could just break into it. I mean, if they demand this information, they should be able to get it. They're the ones in charge, not this control group or whatever it is, this shadow government that's hidden away here somewhere in the Pentagon. There has to be something's wrong with all of this. Why do we have to take legislation? I don't know how could it be legal? It can't be. It cannot be legal, what's ever going on. So it makes me ask this question again. Are extraterrestrials in control of this? And that's why it's so hard to get this information away from them. They're just not going to give it up. And they're controlling the buffers between Congress and the Pentagon. They're controlling the people in between somehow. And that's and so you get this message from the Pentagon all the time, like, hey, there's nothing here, nothing to see here, because that's what they're being told by their superiors that should not be their superiors for somehow. I don't know how this is happening. You really have there's a lot of questions that are coming to my mind over all of this. Okay, and then the final thought that came to my mind today is number 6. Some learned celebrities have taken the stance of extreme skepticism when it comes to the extraterrestrial question, and it does not make sense. What is wrong with these people? Yeah, you have to ask yourself this question. What is wrong with these people, learned people? I mean, we have all these debunkers all over the internet. If you go on Twitter, it's unbelievable, right? Just spreading these lies and disingenuous reviews of different cases, and you could see, it's like you could see right through their petty arguments that this is, what are you talking about? And then, of course, you have people, very big name celebrities, people like I talk about all the time. Neil deGrasse Tyson shows up on TV on a regular basis and seems, the guy's an entertaining guy. I always thought he was funny, interesting to listen to. He knows a lot about the universe, about the stars, astronomy, that kind of stuff. But at the same time, when it comes to UFOs, he's a complete idiot. And you have to ask yourself, what's wrong with these people? How could smart people, apparently smart people, be talking the way they do when it comes to this subject? How could they not be interested? How could they not be seeing that there is something going on here, right? But they're not. Anyway, just to talk about Neil deGrasse Tyson a little bit, there was an article recently that appeared in The Pulse. I'll leave a link for it so you can check it out for yourself. And this person who wrote the article, Arjun Walia, he doesn't state whether he believes in extraterrestrials or not, but he notices that Neil deGrasse Tyson has an incredible lack of knowledge when he talks about UFOs. And here's what the article says. It says, Tyson has made multiple appearances on media networks like CNN and MSNBC, for example, attempting to provide a scientific explanation for multiple videos of UFOs that have been released by the United States Navy and confirmed as real by the Pentagon. Despite the fact that these objects are constantly seen by credible observers, performing maneuvers and traveling at speeds that no known aircraft can, Tyson maintains that this does not necessarily equate to the conclusion that they are extraterrestrial. He is right about that, but he also doesn't seem to think that whatever these objects may be are actually real. One of his main arguments is that the objects in question that appear on military camera could be a malfunction of the hardware, or what people are seeing may not actually be there. But this doesn't take into consideration that many pilots are witnessing these objects with their naked eye as well. It's here that Tyson seems to lack knowledge regarding the phenomenon itself. So why is CNN and MSNBC going to Tyson as a, quote, expert? There are two possibilities here. Either Tyson has not looked into the issue enough, or he is well aware of the phenomenon and is using his influence to debunk it for whatever reason. I think there might be other reasons here, but we'll get into them later. It says, throughout the decades, a common theme within ufology has been the presence of, as of the very first director of the CIA once said, an official campaign of secrecy and ridicule. In this quote, he is referring to utilizing the media to ridicule the subject and mislead the public purposefully. When Tyson shares the idea that the Navy videos of these unidentified objects could be a result of a camera malfunction, he fails to realize that the pilots filming the objects, as well as the object that was filmed from a Navy vessel, were also seen by multiple military personnel simultaneously. Furthermore, not only were they seen by people while being filmed, they were also tracked on both ground and radar. Is it really possible that all the cameras were malfunctioning while at the same time the people who saw these objects were hallucinating? Is it possible that the radar systems were malfunctioning by showing an object on the screen that actually wasn't there at the same time the cameras were malfunctioning and the military personnel were hallucinating? I think not. Military encounters with UFOs as well as with civilians is something that has been happening for decades. There are millions of pages of declassified documents pointing to thousands of military encounters of these objects doing impossible things. Sure, the extraterrestrial hypothesis can be questioned, but the reality of the phenomenon cannot, and it's quite odd that Mr. Tyson does not recognize and acknowledge this. This type of attitude is far from skepticism, it's ignorance, be it innocence or not. That was a great article, so if you want to check that article out, I mean, that's fantastic. What a great point. I mean, you don't even have to be a believer in the extraterrestrial presence to understand that this guy's Neil deGrasse Tyson is saying really stupid things to make it sound like everything's a camera malfunction. And then think about the millions of people that are sitting there watching that at home on TV. They're going to take his word for gospel. It's ridiculous. So you have to ask yourself a question, like, what is going on here? I mean, I see the mountains of evidence from the different books I've read, the pictures I've seen, the accounts from different people. There's just so much out there at this point. My own experiences, I know, right, for a fact, based on my own experiences. And then you have this. You have this attitude from skeptics, and not just him, but there's a lot of people all over the internet that just are failing to see this. I mean, how could they dismiss certain cases? I do sound like a broken record sometimes, and I apologize for that. But I'll say it again. I'll bring it up again. The Ariel school phenomenon. What happened there? Obviously, it had to be, right? There's no other answers there. Anybody that would study this would understand that. And there's just so much more than that. That to me, that's one of the best cases. That's why I bring it up. I mean, it's just, as far as I'm concerned, that's undeniable. So you have to ask yourself this question: what's wrong with these people? Are they somehow being controlled by something else? Is that what's happening? Are some people among us actually right now being targeted to be controlled? It could be. I don't see how could this guy be so dumb? I'm not getting it. I'm just not getting it. And like these other people that are all over the internet, that's just, I don't know, are they just grifting, or are they seriously really believe this? I have trouble believing that some of these people who seem to be smart people otherwise, we're talking like the Michael Shermers of the world and the Mick Wests of the world, the Keith Clores of the world. There's all these people out there who are skeptics. Jason Colavito. There's just a lot of people out there writing for big name publications, and they're also big time presences on the internet, and they're just, what am I not seeing here with these people? I don't get it. Why are they doing this? It's either a grift because there's a market for it or something. One of the reasons it could be, and they're just deciding to cash in on it. That's possible, I guess. Probably is in some cases. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case with Stephen Greenstreet. And then it could be that they're just they're somehow being controlled. That could be the case somehow. I don't know how, but somehow, because it just doesn't make sense to me. Because the evidence is pretty clear. I mean, anybody who's smart and does the research and reads a few books and talks to some of the witnesses and watches some of the testimony. Right, she looks at what's happening right now within the government. There are people who are within the government, our top officials, elected officials, who have seen something behind the scenes, and it's convinced them that something must be happening, and they wouldn't be passing all this legislation. Right, it's pretty much the only issue right now in Congress that seems to be receiving the most bipartisan support. I mean, outside of a few stragglers. Mike Turner out of Ohio, but of course he's bought and paid for by the military-industrial complex, so we understand that. But I don't know. I don't know what, I don't know what's going on with these people. I can't figure it out. I mean, DeGrasse Tyson, it's beyond skepticism. When, like this guy points out in this article in the Pulse, it's beyond skepticism to say to not even. That's being. To me, that's more ridiculous than the extraterrestrial hypothesis. I mean, to say that every camera malfunctioned at the same time, all the people were hallucinating, because that's what he's saying, Neil deGrasse Tyson. It's incredible, and yet he's a big-time presence on many TV channels, many, not just those two. I've seen him on just about all of them, and I don't get it. I just don't get it. So I wonder, are they being controlled somehow? I don't know. Could be. Maybe. Maybe we'll find out someday. I just don't know. Okay, now I'm going to go to, I'm going to read some of the most recent Spotify polls that I've run, and we're going to see what's going on there. Okay, we're going to go just do the last two here. For the episode, Nagasaki and Hiroshima are UFO hotspots / Roswell mogul balloon excuse deflated. I asked this question: is the high level of UFO activity in parts of Japan the result of the 1945 atomic bomb deployments? I received 60 responses so far, and 53 or 88.3% say yes, while only 7 or 11.7% say no. Yes, of course, I think that's a yes. I think that for whatever reason, when we start detonating atomic bombs back in 1945, I think that awakened some beast. And by 1947, there were flying saucers all over the place. So yes, and I think that something's going on there. I mean, it's within the top three places in the world where there are UFO sightings over the last 27 years. So there must be some sort of reason for that, and that reason seems to be an atomic bomb went off in two different cities in Japan in 1945, and I think the extraterrestrials are hanging out there because of that reason. So yes, I agree. And then for yesterday's episode, the most recent episode, it was called "Country Singers' Incredible ET and Men in Black Encounters in 1975." I asked this question, and so far it's only this is only 14 hours ago that I published this, so there's only 26 votes so far. Who or what were the men in black who visited Johnny Sands? The least amount, actually nothing, went to nothing or / hoax. Nobody who has voted believes that it was a hoax. And then 2 people voted for other, or 7.7%, and another 2 people voted for hallucinations, or 7.7%. And then 8 people, or 30.8%, are blaming government agents. Well, the winner is, so far, extraterrestrials. 14 people voted for that, or 53.8%. I think, yes, I think that there was extraterrestrials. I listened to that podcast, or that interview 3 times yesterday, and I think that it's pretty clear that everybody was involved. All these weird beings were extraterrestrials. These men in black that he saw later on, I think that the whole thing was involved extraterrestrials. And like I said, I put up my theory on this, what I think could be going on, that the men in black are actually agents, alien agents that are among us. There's a presence that's in control of us, possibly right now, that is controlling the narrative. That's what I think is possible. I'm not saying it's 100%. I'm just putting it out there as a theory, that they are controlling us, and every now and then other beings come here, eyeing this planet up, thinking, oh, this looks like a good place to live, but then the men in black or the alien presence here does things to try to shoo them away. So I think that's what's going on. I think there's an alien presence that's already planted its flag on Earth and has claimed it as their own, and we're just here for the time being until they take over completely at some point in the future. I think that's very possible. I mean, anything's possible. Again, we can't get any answers from our elected officials, so you just left scratching your head and asking questions. And speculating, because that's all we can do. I mean, if it was a cut and dry answer, like, yes, there were extraterrestrials that sometimes visit Earth and crash. They just look like they're observing us, and then they fly back to their planets, right? Yeah, we have some alien bodies on ice, and we are looking reverse engineering their craft. That's a simple explanation, but I don't think the answer is simple. I'm starting to really think that the fact, again, that we have our top elected officials have no access, right there, that should tell you everything you need to know. Something's going on behind the scenes. It could be that there are extraterrestrials that have infiltrated elements within the Pentagon, and they have created their own little secret pocket within there that nobody could puncture, nobody could break through, and they're calling all the shots somehow. And we're just like Mongo and Blazing Saddles. We're just pawns in game of life. That's what could be going on here, and it would make more sense to me that it's more complicated and actually something that's not conducive to the human race. We just would not want to hear the truth. Maybe that's part of this too. The aliens, they know it's really bad. They're the ones in control, and they don't want anyone to question this, and they don't want the rest of the world to know that they're here and up to something, so they're keeping it quiet. And our government officials, maybe some of them don't even have control of themselves. They're being controlled. The buffers between the alien controlled control group in the little secret pocket, and then you have top generals and admirals as buffers to the White House and the Congress, and those people in between are being controlled. If you remember when Admiral Wilson was trying to be read in on the program, he only got so far, and then they told him they're not going to let him know anything, right? And then one of his superiors got real angry with him and told him to stop it. Don't look at that anymore, right? Or guess what? We'll take some stripes off you, and you'll lose your pension. Threats. threats. So a superior to Admiral Wilson basically threatened him. So you have to wonder, is that superior to Admiral Wilson? We don't know who it is, right? Was that superior being controlled, manipulated by the alien intelligence that's within the control group? Again, this is all theory. I'm not saying it's 100% true, but you have to ask yourself questions like this. After you read stories about Aaron Rodgers seeing a gigantic mothership, AK, just like the Phoenix Lights 1997 case, something out of Independence Day, he said, you have to ask yourself these kind of questions. Because obviously there's something here, right? We all know it. And then you have to wonder, okay, but who's pulling the strings behind in the background? You have to ask yourself, are we actually right now under alien control? And our future, there is no future. We're all doomed for all I know. Anyway, have a nice day. Thanks for joining me. Until next time.